Hey everybody, Lia Tsukino here. Welcome back to Ebon Light. Now, it's gonna be fun to play this game. So, yeah, we're gonna continue on to where we were. Now, if we remember, we were just waking up from our... I think we were just waking up from a dream after meeting the guy who looks like Viscount Druid from Black Butler or Kurosasuchi. So, I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel hunger. All I felt was sleepiness. We're losing her again. Ugh. She never acted like that before. It's improving. Better be. I don't know how much time we have. Well, what are you guys talking about? What's happening? I sat up and found myself in a dark room. My heart was pounding. I felt cold and very hungry. It seemed to be a bedroom. There was a window nearby. Outside I could see the night sky. I was wearing something silky and soft. Oh, that's pretty, but how did... No. I climbed out of bed and laid my bare feet against the cold floor. Go to the window. I approached the room window and peered outside. There was a garden, a low fence, and beyond that, a city street. What I could see of the city in the moonlight. It was overwhelming. Towering, dark spires stretching toward the sky, the highest of which disappeared completely into the sky. The window itself was latched shut. It would be easy to open. The room I was in was pristine and extravagantly decorated. I was worlds away from Aunt Vania's hut in Edric. There was a dresser, a nightstand, a dressing table with multiple narrow drawers. I took some time to examine the room's artwork. There were structures and statuettes on most of the surfaces, the walls covered in paintings. Even the draperies seemed to tell a story. I forgot to turn on my... I noticed that each extravagant piece was descriptive at first. The pieces seemed grand and happy, but only until I looked at them closer. They became morbid, sinister. Eye of the beholder, perhaps. The bedroom door was unlocked and opened mercifully without a creak. Once outside the bedroom, I found myself in the hall that extended far both to the left and right. I could see a faint light coming from somewhere down the hall to my left, while to my right, I could only see a dark series of doors that, just like the one I exited. I steeled myself and carefully made my way down the left hall as quietly as I could. The closer I got to the light, the clearer of sound of a fire crackling. Drawing closer still, an exuberant smell took my senses. Something was being cooked, something which smelled delicious into my stomach, as bare as mine, utterly intoxicating. I inched my way to the very edge of the open archway, just inside the warm glow, the delicious smell. Unable to restrain myself, I carefully peered into the room with the glorious smell. Noise level 3? What does that mean? Before me, I saw a large kitchen. A large fire was responsible for the bright glow. And just above me, a pot, above the fire, a pot, with where no doubt the fire could be found. My appetite was ravenous, as it was. I couldn't restrain myself any longer. I quickly made my way into the room, where I was unexpectedly alone, and helped myself to the soup bubbling in the pot. Nothing was ever more delicious. Look for a knife? What the frick? Head back to the main hall. I backtrailed until I was once again in front of my bedroom door. I decided to head down the right hall. The hall was dark and quiet. I felt reverently certain I was safe and alone. As I head down the hall, I passed a series of doors that all looked familiar. When I finally came to an entrance that was remarkably different from the rest, I paused in front of it and considered trying to enter. This room had 2 doors, framed in an ornate, pretentious design. The further I moved down the hall, further down the hall until I was all the way to the end. I began to turn back around until I heard muffled voices through a nearby door. My first instinct was to freeze in place, convinced that I was about to be discovered, but the quiet voice continued to speak without missing a beat, completely unaware of my existence. I could tell it was a woman talking, though I couldn't make out any words through the door. And even if I were sitting next to whoever was talking, they were probably speaking their language and not mine. I carefully crept back down the hall in the direction I came from. I turned back into the bedroom, quietly letting myself back in. My belly full, I felt confident I could lay in bed until morning. I lay in bed, closed my eyes, and kept very still. But my mind refused to let me fall back asleep. As I kept quiet for hours, staying as still as best I could, I felt restless, aches in my every bone. I must have been asleep for days. I thought about giving up the ruse many times over, making my way back into the hall until I found someone. With a preserved sort of hopefulness, I listened intently as each sound outside my door paused, shuffled, continued. Every part of me was even eager to be discovered. Finally, I heard my room's door open. I kept very still. I heard the soft steps of someone drawing closer. "And how are you today, Lia? Still sleeping?" The man sighed. I didn't open my eyes just yet. If I was going to pretend to wake naturally, or if I was going to wait to try and escape in the daylight. Well, onwards through day 5. I heard a frustrated sigh coming from somewhere close just overhead. I was trying to come up with a plan, settle on a course of action, try to keep feigning sleep, wait until I was alone and escape. Then I felt a cold hand suddenly press against my forehead. Without realizing it, my eyes shot open and I flinched. In an instant, I was filled with regret. Lia. There was surprise and applause in his voice. Lia, you can understand me. Did he expect I couldn't? I can understand you. Excellent. Do you feel as though you fall back asleep? No. Why? That's what you've been doing. You'll wake up, then fall asleep a few moments later. You seem different now. So one hopes you'll stay awake this time. Quite the relief. You're relieved? I had contacted Lysiega to retrieve the Cathanium. I certainly did not expect that you would come. I did not expect that would come in the form of you. Now that it has, whether either of us like it, we're both forced to adapt to the situation as we can. Then what are you proposing? I'm proposing what I was in the beginning. That we work together and embrace the idea we can mutually benefit by your success. I'm supposed to trust you? No, that would be foolish. I've told you in no certain terms that I intend to use you. What I suggest is you embrace the idea of using me in return. How can you help me? I can acquire information. I can protect you. And I have means to promote you. Promote me? Your health or your power? It remains to be seen. And you have information about what's happening to me? Some. Not as much as I'd like to have. But I would be happy to share what I know. I had helped healers complying theories since before you arrived. We have an idea what to be wary of, but it's not all for loss. Healers? Have I been ill? You're unique. You've been sleeping, but you haven't displayed any other particular concern. Then what are you looking for? It's all theory. Ideas formed from broken remnants of history. But it's rather exciting. For every threat you face, there is the possibility of remarkable power. What kind of power? The warriors who've taken Cathantio were stronger than their peers. It's as vague as our records are. What most of the writings have in common is the idea that the Cathantio is a key to some greater threshold. Beyond oneself. Now, what could mean that? What could that mean? If they were stronger, faster, smarter. If they understood things or saw things that we normally don't. There are dozens of suggestions. I would be happy to go over them individually with you later. What do you mean, see things that we normally don't? That specific reference comes from an almost entirely destroyed manuscript. What I've already said of it is about all there is to say. When was it destroyed? Ages ago. It seems that it was damaged shortly after it was made. I don't trust you. He smiles. Do you have an interest in Gahalian history? If only for obvious reasons. Of course, I would feel the same. Fortunately, researching my people's obscure, mudded past is a hobby of mine. For now, we have to wait and see what fantastic abilities you manifest. I began to feel overwhelmed, and my world began to get hazy again. While I wanted more information, the more I heard, the more difficult it became to listen. Duliae smiled in a way I assumed was meant to be comforting. That's what I was trying to say. Perhaps it would be better to pace this out. Take a chance to reacquaint yourself with the waking world, and I will gather the information I've collected and present it to you this evening. You can have the run of the estate in the meantime. Very well. In the meantime, do as you please. I would suggest staying on the estate, but as I said, I'm not your keeper. Perhaps you would like some air out in the garden. What passes for a garden in the mouth of the city anyway? Oh, and Lia, you recalled meeting an elf named Haran when you were aboard the Bastion. Haran, young, pleased with himself. Yes, I met him. Duliae sighs. Haran and Errol will be over this evening. Haran's been restlessly trying to get an audience with you. He's been at it for days now. They're bringing over their own records concerning the Cathantiel. I suspect you'd be interested. 2 birds, 1 stone. All right, I'll meet with them. Excellent. Perhaps seeing slightly familiar faces will be a comfort to you. Bearing in mind that I know them about as well as I know you. But to hear Haran tell it, you were chicks of the same nest. If you need anything, the servants about that can assist you. Somewhere. I spent the rest of the day in my room. I woke up in my room, as Duliae called it. A daze lingered while I tried to prepare myself for dinner with the elves. What answers could I hope to get from the elves? Duliae seems as trustworthy as a golden snake in a wheat field. From what I could remember of Haran and Ernal, Haran's mind is scattered and difficult to place, and Ernal is hardly my ally. If the Cathantiel is so mysterious and unknown, did they even have answers to give? I felt a certain dread, both in surprising I never get answers, and in fearing that I would. Knowing exactly what it was that nestled in my belly, slithered around in my veins, stirred up in my head. I'm gonna save right here. Because I think this is a good place to stop. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed that, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing if you haven't already. And if you guys want to continue watching more from me, please hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button. And you can turn on channel notifications and customize that to your preference. As always, links to my social media is down in the description box below. Thank you guys so very much for your likes, comments, subscriptions, and views. They help out the channel, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. As always, my heart and love goes out to each and every single one of you. as well as my love, and please stay safe out there, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.